I'd go off.
Yeah.
I would completely go off.
Nobody leaves their home 24/7. I mean, it's just a job that you have to devote to every country, and it's tough to do, and you never win. There is no winning. Choose between a rock and a hard place all the time.
I would not. I couldn't be president of the congregation either. And I would. Okay? I've got a temper, and you can't have that. Look, the thing is,
I love your honesty.
well, I didn't lose it when 5 years ago when we were first talking. But there's some people that, listen, I don't want to move, but I also know we can't stay here. You can sit right here. No, sit over here. Sit over there. Nobody's coming up this way. Okay? So I'll just keep this here.
Okay.
Now, Rabbi looks at you and motions, and she ordered it.
Well, that's why I'm wondering if I can sit here. If you're open,
It doesn't matter. I don't
All right, Lee, you ready?
got it. I'm ready.
Let's get rocking.
Shabbat Shalom. Well, first and foremost, I just want to say how wonderful it is to be back here at Temple Shalom after a 2-month sabbatical. It was very restful. It was really energizing for me to come back and start fresh again and with new eyes and new vision. And I just want to thank the congregation for the opportunity to have time to take time for sabbatical for myself and also to be with my family. So thank you so much, and Shabbat Shalom. I also want to welcome Dr. Bishop Stephen Kelsey, his wife Diane, and the members of Spirit-Filled New Life Church. We are very happy that you are with us tonight as we celebrate Shabbat, our Sabbath, and also honor the life and the legacy and all the work that Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. did. He was a great man who unfortunately was cut down way before his time. But his legacy lives on, and what he stood for and what he fought for remains intact. And so I'm so grateful that our two congregations can come together tonight, because we have a similar past. Both our peoples, the Jewish people, the members of the African American, Black community, we were slaves. We both have known discrimination, prejudice, hatred, and persecution. And despite the efforts of Dr. King and those who marched with him and worked with him and stood with him, many of whom were rabbis and Jews. One of my professors, when I became a rabbi, was actually jailed in Florida when he went down to participate in the civil rights movement. Despite all of their hard work, today, we know personally, unfortunately, from our own experiences, that in many ways, things have not changed. So the journey continues, the work continues. And I'm grateful that we, Temple Shalom, have partners with Spirit-Filled New Life Church. We began our partnership a year ago when we met first at the church and then here at Temple Shalom for dialogue, for discussion, for food. We even got together. We were supposed to have an event in the park, which got rained out, but we still had fun at the church. We had an indoor picnic, and we danced together and had a great time. And of course, at the Louisville Orchestra, where our congregations, along with other Jewish and Black church congregations, were invited to the Louisville Orchestra. And we'll be together again tomorrow night, also members of Temple Shalom and members of Spirit-Filled New Life Church, along with other members of Jewish congregations and Black churches. So for this partnership and for the ability to continue to work together to make this world a more just place, a more fair place, where there's more equality and more respect for all of God's children, regardless of race, religion, color, creed, etc. I'm grateful that we have the opportunities to come together and work together. Tonight, I have the opportunity to share the bima with Aviv Naamani, one of the people who will be providing music tonight. We have members of the church choir who will be singing as well tonight. Aviv, I want to thank you personally for all the Friday nights that you led services in my absence. I heard from many that you did a wonderful, terrific job, which doesn't surprise me, but I still want to say thank you to you for that. Much appreciated. And our bima guest tonight is Amos Benjamin. He's a member of our Board of Trustees. So Amos, we are glad that you're here. We'll hear some announcements from him a little later on. So we're going to begin this evening with the singing of Ma Yafeh Hayom. I hope on the way in, everybody grabbed a copy of We Shall Overcome, which will be our concluding song, as well as a handout that has a number on it. That will be for part 2 when we're in the auditorium next door. Most of the service tonight will not be from the prayer book, but some things will. So page 10, Ma Yafeh Hayom, where we're basically saying how wonderful it is today, and we wish each other a Sabbath of peace.
Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom.
And now I invite everyone to turn to page 3 as I invite Jen Jacobson, who is a member of our Board of Trustees and also was very involved heavily in planning tonight's service and the program afterward. Jen is going to do one of the readings on page 3, then she will light the Shabbat candles and say the blessing, which can be found on page 2. All our prayers are not only in Hebrew, but also in English, so if anyone's interested to know what she is saying in Hebrew or when we sing, the English will be right below.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom. It is now my pleasure to invite Avery Kohlers to my podium. Avery is the chair of our Tikkun Olam committee. Tikkun Olam means to repair the world, and he also is involved in planning tonight's service.
The theme of our shared service tonight is a single garment of destiny. Dr. King returned to this powerful image a number of times in the early 1960s, including in the letter from Birmingham jail, which has been a particularly important text for me as I've felt my way towards trying to live a life for justice. Here's perhaps his most eloquent version of the statement from his visit to Western Michigan University on December 18, 1963, and I quote, "All I'm saying is simply this, that all life is interrelated, but somehow we're caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. For some strange reason, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. You can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. This is the interrelated structure of reality. John Donne caught it years ago and placed it in graphic terms." And now he quotes, "No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of a continent, a part of the main." He goes on toward the end to say, "Any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee." That ends both quotes. We chose this as the theme of the service tonight because of how we hope to express and reaffirm the fact of our shared destiny. Dr. King's single garment of destiny ties us together across the city and across the world, across lines of race, religion, gender, and nationality, black and white, Jewish, Christian, and Muslim, Israeli, and Palestinian. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Avery. It is now my pleasure to invite Andrea Bolden from Spirit-Filled New Life Church to the podium.
I will be reading Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with certainty of tides. Just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes? Shoulders falling like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard? 'Cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from the past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, swelling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. It is a daybreak that is wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestor gave, I am the dream and the hope of a slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
Beautiful. Thank you. At this time, I invite everyone here to please rise if you're physically able to do so. For the Baruch Hu, our call to worship, it can be found on page 28 as we open the ark.
Yai la 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai. Hamevorach Baruch Adonai. Hamevorach, Hamevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Hamevorach, Hamevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. For our guests who are choosing to follow along in English, I just want to point out that the word Adonai is our name for God. It's not the only name that we have for God in Hebrew, but it is a primary name for God. I now invite the members of the church choir to come over here to our choir loft as they will sing What's Going On. Perhaps that's not going to happen. All right. Then I invite Rachel Klein, who is a member of Temple Shalom and was also a planner for tonight's joint service and program. I invite you to the podium.
Good evening, friends, guests, and guests who have become friends. I had the pleasure and honor of sharing some words with the Temple Shalom congregation at last year's Martin Luther King Shabbat, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to stand before you again this year. My name is Rachel Klein, and I am here with my family, Noah and Harper. I shared last year that much of my professional day-to-day focuses on the examination of educational practices and policies in JCPS, as well as working to unravel and rebuild them to be anti-racist in nature. You would imagine that amongst all the nuance of my work exists the additional complexity that I'm a white woman pursuing anti-racism. However, racism and white supremacy negatively affect everyone, white people included. Based on my experiences in my field, I understand that many white educators and leaders are fearful of claiming that they are an anti-racist ally just to falter or make mistakes along the way. I have felt that, I will feel that, and I will remain vulnerable in my work if it means being a model for those who look like me but who do not know where to start. And while no amount of reading or researching about the history, experiences, contributions, and cultures of Black and brown people will ever provide me lived experience, it is imperative for me to pursue this knowledge if I am to be a true anti-racist ally. There's obviously a broader connection as we gather for this service with our friends from Spirit-Filled New Life Church, as allyship has connected Jewish people and Black and African American people in our shared history as Americans, especially during the Civil Rights era. I recently wrote a piece on my positionality in the work of anti-racism as part of a collection of articles written by members of my department. Hey, Ian. Members of my department in an upcoming update for the Louisville Urban League. I spoke in that piece of the vulnerability I've begun to lean into as I evolve personally and professionally. And I want to share a bit about this impact, about its impact on my life since we last gathered for this very meaningful Shabbat service. Last year, I shared that for educators, our best moments are in the classroom, are when we have we have taken time to make safe spaces for growth and candor. That's where we can push our kids to the edge of comfort when we are learning. No one likes that place, but really this is the sweet spot for educators because it is in these moments of discomfort that students recognize that they must continue to learn in order to become comfortable again. Vulnerability is certainly uncomfortable at times. We put up various walls or masks in the context we navigate every day, and being vulnerable strips those barriers away. That is uncomfortable. And if we are not comfortable with some aspect of our true selves, then certainly vulnerability feels like being naked in the wind. There was a moment just after the October attacks in Israel where I had a meeting with a colleague. They did not know me well enough to know that I'm married to a Jewish man and am helping him raise our Jewish daughter. We sat down for our meeting and we asked each other how the other one was doing. From him, I got the standard, "I'm well, and you?" As many of us are likely prone to giving. I've certainly given this response plenty. But this time, he got my honest answer. I wasn't doing well. And in that moment, I unloaded on him. He got my full answer, my honest answer, and it was accompanied with some very difficult to restrain tears. He probably wasn't ready for that, but he got the full truth of the state of my being. And he sat patiently and attentively till I got it all out. And it hung in the air. But I can assure you the humanness of our otherwise professional relationship deepened in that moment. He saw me for who I was, and in turn, our conversations since then have become richer, more meaningful, more truthful, even if it's just about work stuff. This moment was a gift I wasn't prepared for vulnerability to give me, but I received it nevertheless. And I know my husband will be smirking at me by the time I finish this next thought, because he knows me very well. Like our daughter, I really don't know a stranger. I cannot help myself. When I see somebody wearing a really cool pair of earrings, I'm going to tell them. I pretend like I like my moments of solitude and moments of introversion, but I know who I am. I know that, like my daughter, I like to connect with people. I cannot help but to connect with the barista at my new favorite Black-owned coffee shop, who by the third time I'd visited his business, we were talking about the racial healing in our community. By the fourth time I visited his business, we found our way to conversation about exposing yourself to different cultures and ways of being, because it shows you something beautiful and valuable that exists in others who are nothing like you. I shared a bit about my Jewish family. He noted that the secret ingredient in much of his self-proclaimed soul food is chicken schmaltz. No joke. Brew and Sip on Shepherdsville Road. It's not a plug, but really go. And he would not have known that even existed as an ingredient had he not extended himself to learn about Jewish people, their culture, and their cuisine. Alone, we cannot do it all, but together we are so capable. King shared in Birmingham, Alabama in 1963. Thank you, Avery, for teeing this up. And justice everywhere is a threat to justice. Anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. This echoes much of the charge of the book of Deuteronomy, calling for the pursuit of justice and looking after those in need. So my challenge for you all this year is to practice radical honesty with yourself and with others. Allyship requires you to know your blind spots, know your biases, and know your struggles. Being honest with those things leads to personal growth that in turn can help others. This exercise of vulnerability I've engaged in lately has become a source of strength for me, connecting me with others on levels required to see the humanness of others and to understand my role in our collective liberation from oppressive forces. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. At this time, I'm going to ask everybody to please turn to page 34 in your prayer book. And I invite everyone who is physically able to please rise for Shema Yisrael, the watchword of our faith. This is our declaration, so to speak, our guiding principle, the belief that there is one God in heaven and on earth.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. The words we just chanted came from the book of Deuteronomy, and we are going to continue on page 36, chanting words that come from the books of Deuteronomy and Numbers, and the English might be, part of the English might be familiar to our guests. We join together in chanting of the Hebrew.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shiftecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha b'derech uv'shochvecha uv'kumecha uv'shartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kadoshim leloheichem ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, leot lachem le'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet.
It's now my pleasure to invite Derek Mitchell to the podium. Derek is a member of Spirit-Filled New Life Church.
You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai, your God.
Thank you, Derek, for that very powerful reading of that passage in our prayer book. I'm going to invite us to turn to page 39 and read responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again you overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
We'll join together in the singing of Mi Chamocha on page 40. These are the words that the Israelites sang after the Sea of Reeds parted and they passed through to freedom on dry land.
Mi chamocha ne'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot oser feler. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze'eli anu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed.
It's now my pleasure to invite Jennifer Jacobson back to the bima. I just love the stool that's here for Rabbi. I love it. I've missed it. It's lovely to see everyone this evening. I'm Jennifer Jacobson. As we know, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. advocated for the principle of nonviolent protest, affirming that opposition should be tackled with compassion rather than aggression. I'd like to read a short excerpt from his New York City Riverside Church speech from April 4th, 1967. He gave this address, which was his first public statement against the war in Vietnam, to a crowd of more than 3,000 people. The gathering was organized by clergy and laymen concerned about Vietnam. He said, "Here is the true meaning and value of compassion and nonviolence, when it helps us to see the enemy's point of view, to hear his questions, to know his assessment of ourselves. For from his view, we may indeed see the basic weaknesses of our own condition. And if we are mature, we may learn and grow and profit from the wisdom of the brothers who are called the opposition." Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel gave the introductory remarks for this speech. Here is an excerpt from Rabbi Heschel's remarks. Our thoughts on Vietnam are sores, destroying our trust, ruining our most cherished commitments with burdens of shame.
We are pierced to the core with pain, and it is our duty as citizens to say no to the subversiveness of our government, which is ruining the values we cherish. The blood we shed in Vietnam makes a mockery of all our proclamations, dedications, and celebrations. Has our conscience become a fossil? Is all mercy gone? If mercy, the mother of humility, is still alive as a demand, how can we say yes to our bringing agony to that tormented country? We are here because our own integrity as human beings is decaying in the agony and merciless killing done in our name. In a free society, some are guilty and all are responsible. We are here to call upon the governments of the United States as well as North Vietnam to stand still and to consider that no victory is worth the price of terror which all parties commit in Vietnam, North and South. Remember that the blood of the innocent cries forever. Should that blood stop to cry, humanity would cease to be. I can't help but hear these remarks as if they were being spoken today. I stand here on the bema on a night when we are honoring Dr. King, with the Israeli flag to my left, which, while Israel is accused of genocide in the World Court, and I am confused, angry, and sad. Honestly, I have been struggling. How could Israel have found itself in this position? In her powerful sermon on Yom Kippur, Rabbi warned us that the extremist and ethnocentric coalition governing Israel is opposed to our values of pluralism and equality. We Jews mostly stopped criticizing the Israeli government on October 7th, the day that Israel was brutally attacked by Hamas from Gaza. Now we see how right Rabbi was, how right the reform movement has been to oppose Netanyahu's extremist regime. Because of arrogance, pursuit of power, viciousness, pursuit of political aims, that regime has landed Israel where it is today in facing these accusations. Rabbi Heschel implores us to remember that the blood of the innocent cries forever. At the time, he was speaking about the war in Vietnam, and Vietnam had never attacked U.S. soil. Today, I am agonizing about the innocent in Israel and Gaza. Is this war ruining cherished values? Is all mercy gone? How can I possibly reconcile all of this with my belief in the sanctity of all life? I came across a January 5th article in the Israeli newspaper Haaretz about Standing Together, an Arab-Jewish social movement founded in 2015 that seeks to advance egalitarian, beneficent society in Israel through joint grassroots activity. Standing Together espouses values of equality, peace, social justice, and socialism, and in normal times is involved with environmental, educational, and social issues. During a Standing Together meeting, Sally Abed, an Arab woman who directs the movement's resource development team, said, "We're told that we have to take a side, but that choice inevitably denies the humanity of the other side. I refuse to have my humanity robbed. I refuse to be deprived of my Israeliness," she declared. After the meeting, Abed was approached by an elderly Jewish man wearing a kippah who had tears in his eyes. Embracing her, he said, "Thank you. This is the first time I have breathed since October 7th. You made it possible for me to feel pain for the other side and to feel like a human being again." Jewish co-director Elan Lee Green said, "Our friends in the United States are in a hashtag crisis. They feel they have only one of two options, either I'm with Israel hashtag or my heart is with Gaza hashtag. We told them that if we, who are in the heart of the storm, are able to maintain the understanding that both peoples are suffering at this time and also work together for humanity, then certainly they are capable of it. All they need really is plenty of desire and some effort." As we join together in this sanctuary, for me, honoring the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. means standing in support of peace, of shalom, of humanity and of mercy. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Jen. At this time, we turn our hearts and our thoughts to our loved ones who are in need of prayers of healing tonight, healing of body, mind, or spirit. Our prayers are with Lev Dickerman, Teresa Todd, Jim Todd, Leela Wilson, Paul Tackett, Al Unger, Beth Haberman, Fran Skall, Robin Unger, Alvin Casson, Glenn Fasnacht, John Gage, David Rosenberg, the hostages who are being held in Gaza, as well as their family members. This Sunday will mark 100 days in captivity without proper food, without medicine, and without any visits from the Red Cross. And our thoughts are with those who are recovering from wounds inflicted during the terror attack on October 7th, as well as with all who have been wounded during the war taking place between Israel and Hamas. If you'd like to add names of loved ones for us to keep in our prayers, whether you're a member or visiting guest, please feel free to say their names aloud as my eyes meet yours. We ask that God bring healing to our loved ones as we continue to do all that we can to bring comfort to them during their time of need, as we join together in the middle of page 253 with our Misha Berach prayer for healing.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mikor HaBracha La'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. We continue silently with our own thoughts, prayers, and meditations. We continue with the singing of Oseh Shalom, one of our prayers for peace, which can be found on the bottom of page 62. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen. Ose shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen. Ose shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen. Ose shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru Amen.
Thank you, Aviv. A little over a year ago, sitting in the boardroom at the Jewish Community Center, I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Bishop Stephen M. Kelsey. We met because that was the day that all the clergy found out who would be their clergy partner in the Black Jewish dialogue groups that were being formed. So after the meeting, Dr. Kelsey and I sat and we talked. And we talked about really wanting to do something meaningful. And as Dr. Kelsey said, not just like check off the box, but to really do something and to try to find a way to bring our congregations together more than just the 3 sessions that were part of the initial program that was spearheaded through the Jewish Community Relations Council, Matt Golden at the JCC. And we've already done that. This is actually our 5th gathering, and tomorrow night will be our 6th. So, but when we sat there, we really connected, and we even took a picture together that very same day. And it's just been a really beautiful journey, not only for myself, but for those of both congregations I know who have been, I see some head shaking, who have been part of this beautiful journey that we're on together and that we will continue together. So a little bit about Dr. Bishop Kelsey. He is retired a police officer. He served 25 years with LMPD, which in itself is a huge accomplishment. He is currently the chaplain for LMPD officers and the Louisville Fire Department. He is the owner and he's also the therapist of Fresh Start Educational and Counseling Center. He has advanced degrees, including a PhD. He serves as the behavioral mental health specialist for emergency medical services, which includes Louisville Fire, Louisville EMS, Louisville Corrections, Animal Services, the Office for Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods, and Youth Services. So he's a very busy man, but the fact that he's here tonight with us really is a great honor. So, and perhaps most importantly, of all of his accomplishments, Bishop has been married to Diane, his wife, who's sitting next to him, for almost 30 years, and they have 3 children together. So, Bishop Kelsey, I invite you to the podium to offer this evening's remarks.
In the words of the Apostle Paul, grace and peace. Spirit-filled, what do you say? All right. Your space don't change your commitment. One thing we have to understand as brown and black, Hispanic and Jews, we cannot allow the environment to dictate who we are. either you're going to stand for something or you're going to fall for anything. When I think about what today is, this weekend, I think about the Hebrew word tikkun olam, to repair that which is broken. And what is broken is relationships. When I think about Dr. Martin Luther King, everybody thinks about I have a dream speech. But have we turned his dream into a nightmare? You know, I'm reminded that out of all the accomplishments and policies and procedures, rules and regulations, I think I shared with Rabbi Beth that I was walking on the elevator at work in a federal building with my ID. And as the doors opened on the elevator, a Caucasian lady looked at me and she stared at me, and I said, "How you doing?" She got off the elevator. For some unknown reason, my skin was still my sin. Not knowing that we will meet again in the conference room, she took the steps out to the elevator, and when we got to the place in the conference room, she did not know that the person that she was afraid of was to be the keynote speaker. I did not treat her how she treated me. Because if we continue to give people hatred that gives us hatred, then what kind of believers are we? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a prominent leader in the civil rights movement in the United States. During the 50s and 60s, his efforts were focused on advocating for racial equality and justice, primarily for African Americans. While Dr. King's work primarily centered around the African American community, he also recognized the importance of unity and solidarity among different marginalized groups, including Jews. Jews and African Americans, we have been the butt of people's jokes. Not only do they talk about us and laugh at us, they accept us because they feel they have to tolerate us. And if they really understood, if they sat down and get to find out who we are, if they cut us, we bleed red just like they do. Dr. King emphasized the importance of nonviolent resistance and peaceful protest to bring about social change. He believed in the power of love, understanding and empathy to bridge divides and create a more just society. His approach was rooted in the principles of equality, justice, and human rights for all people. Even though I am an American citizen, I often look at the Declaration called independence. And when I look at what our forefathers put together, they say they believe that all men are created equal. Did you say that to check the boxes? Did you say that so you can sleep good at night? But when we walk in the store, you walk out. You burn our synagogues. You burn our churches. You cheer for us when we're playing on your team. But you are afraid for us to date your daughters. You're hypocrites. All men are not created equal if my sin is still my skin. And when it says that, if you look at it, that we are 2/3. It has not been ratified and changed yet because black people are still considered 2/3. United States of America, home of the free, home of the brave. I'm glad to be an American. But being an American, why do I sometimes feel like a foreigner and a stranger? Dr. King actively collaborated with Jewish leaders and organizations that were also involved in the civil rights movement. He saw the shared struggle for Jews and blacks alike, that we all needed equality and justice, not just us in court. You'll catch it in a minute. And recognize the need for different marginalized communities to work together. Jewish individuals and organizations provided significant support to civil rights movements, both financially and through active participation. This relationship between Dr. King and the Jewish community had a profound impact on society. It highlighted the importance of coalition building and solidarity among different groups fighting for the same cause, which is justice, and not just us. It demonstrated that different communities, despite their unique struggles, can come together to challenge systemic oppression, racism, and work towards a more inclusive society where justice is for all and is not just us in the prisons. This relationship also helped foster a greater understanding and empathy between African Americans and Jews. It challenged stereotypes and prejudice, promoting a more inclusive and tolerant society. And I was in a meeting one day, and I was talking to somebody. I said, it's okay for me to talk about racism. But when you, as Caucasians, talk about racism, then people can really hear, because they expect us to complain about being the last, the lost, the left out. And we began to talk about, have a dialogue, because I said, how come every time I see me on the television, it's not always in a good light? You showed me in Chicago, Cavernity Green Apartments with Florida, James, Michael, Thelma, and JJ. And you said it's good times. What is so good about being in a ghetto? What's so good about being the last hired and the first fired? But we live in the United States of America, where they say all men are created equal. Why do I have to see in my community, in the West End of Louisville, we celebrate 3 liquor stores, but in the East End, they celebrate 3 grocery stores? Tell me that's equality. Tell me that's justice for all. Dr. King continued to bring about peace and justice. And as we follow this example, we can draw inspiration from Dr. King's principles and strategies. It is essential to recognize that interconnectedness of different social justice movements is justice for all of us, and not just us in the prisons. When we come together and really come together, we can live out his dream, my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, where my fathers died and the pilgrims cried. He said he can't wait to see a world where little black boys and little white children can come together separate is not always equal. Because separation, somebody has to pay the price. And sometimes it's always just us.
Thank you, Bishop Kelsey, for those powerful and moving and very important reflections. Thank you so much. I'm very moved by all the people who spoke tonight. And as has been said by several of the speakers and underscored by Bishop Kelsey, that blacks and Jews were on the same side and worked together in the civil rights movement. And there was, at one time, a very strong alliance between our two communities in this country. And then, at some point along the way, it seems that a division started to occur. And the tight connection between the black and Jewish communities wasn't as close, and oftentimes at odds with each other. But by us being here tonight and the work we've done so far and the work that we will continue to do together will give us the opportunity to start bringing our communities closer together. Because the reality is we have more in common than that separates us. And in the words of the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the segregationists make no distinction between the Negro and the Jew. The white supremacists, the skinheads, the neo-Nazis, the Ku Klux Klan are equally opposed. That's not strong enough a word. They hate us and want to destroy both of our communities. Granted, the members of the church, because of the color of your beautiful skin, you are recognized instantaneously and perhaps easier to spot. But when they know that those of us who are white, but when they find out we're Jewish, we're right there on that list and as vulnerable. It just takes a little longer, perhaps, for them to find us. So I'm grateful that we are here tonight, that we care about each other, that we want to work together, we have similar goals, and we recognize the humanness in each other. And the more we do together, the more we'll know each other, and the closer we will become, and that impact will increase. I'm going to invite Aviv to, announcements. That's right. Thank you, Aviv. So I'm going to invite Amos Benjamin to offer some announcements, some things that are going on here at Temple Shalom. As I said, Amos is a member of our Board of Trustees and tonight's Bema guest. Sorry, Amos.
Believe me, that's okay. I want to welcome everybody here tonight, Temple Shalom. It is a wonderful service, and it has been a wonderful service. Thank you for coming tonight and sharing with us your speeches and your wonderful insight to life. Thank you so much. The announcements tonight, Shabbat service will begin tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. The Men's Club breakfast, which was scheduled for January 14th, has been canceled.
A ritual meeting is scheduled on Sunday, January 14th at 2:00 p.m. The agenda will include a review and discussion of ritual in general, as well as a review and discussion of the recent high holidays and the beginning of planning for next year's high holidays. All of those will be impacted by our plans to move to the JCC, so those who wish to participate should contact Karen O'Connell by email. Karen, if people don't know who you are, raise your hand and let people know who you are.
Nobody can see him, he's in the back.
I know. Inkatare is currently touring through the United States and will perform Saturday, January 20th at 7 p.m. at Comstock Hall. Also, Exile, not the group we've heard of in years past, but Exile and the music of the early modern Jewish diaspora. Exile highlights the mutual influences of the late 16th century European Jewish experience, breaking down preconceptions of Jewish music and culture and exploring the implications of the diaspora on Jewish artistic legacy. So this is sponsored by the University of Louisville and the University of Kentucky School of Music and the Jewish Heritage Fund. Also on January 26th at 7 p.m., guest speaker Tony McAleer will be at Temple Shalom, and his subject will be The Cure for Hate, Interfaith Understanding. The Cure for Hate traces former neo-Nazi and Holocaust denier Tony McAleer's journey through atonement to bear witness to the horrors of Auschwitz and examine the through line through modern-day violent extremism. The film serves as a powerful augment for radical compassion in the face of division. Join us for a screening of the film and post-screening conversation with Tony McAleer, director Peter Hutchison, and local faith leaders. Please RSVP to Temple Shalom and invite your friends. This is open to the public. Join us for Temple Shalom's Tu B'Shvat Seder, Sunday, January 28th at 12:45 p.m. Rabbi Chotner will lead a participatory Seder using a Tu B'Shvat Haggadah. Benji Barlow will lead us in song. We had a great time last year, and I know that it'll be fun this year, so please join us. And a special thanks to Travis for streaming the services tonight. Thank you, Travis. And that is all.
Thank you, Amos. I want to add that if anyone's not available on a Friday night in 2 weeks' time, but you want to hear Tony McAleer, he is going to be at the University of Louisville the day before, next Thursday at 4 o'clock, if that works better. And he's also going to be at Spirit-Filled New Life Church on Saturday night. I don't know if that's open to the public or not, but he's going to be there as well. And Temple Shalom is one of the sponsors at U of L as well. I owe an apology, but Anthony Turner from Spirit-Filled New Life Church, I invite you to come on up and share your remarks with us.
I too sang American. I am the dark brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and I eat well and I grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes, Nobody dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am American. By Langston Hughes.
Thank you for reading that. It called to mind, my family recently watched Driving Miss Daisy. Who here, by show of hands, has seen that movie, Driving Miss Daisy? Okay, a lot of people. And the one scene that has always stuck in my mind, you know, when they're eating lunch in Alabama, and these two police come, and first of all, they refer to Morgan Freeman, you know, the driver, who's a grown man, as boy. And then he responds, yes, sir, because that's what he needs to do to stay safe, but totally wrong for him to have to refer to people as sir who call him, a grown man, a boy. And after they go through their rigmarole with the police, and you know that, there's that line as they drive away, the one officer says to the other, an old N and an old Jew lady, what a sorry sight. And for me, that just underscores and underlines our shared paths, you know. As we said, those who hate you hate me, and vice versa. So, so now we will move on with Aviv to You Got to Move by Mississippi Fred McDowell.
What this song is about, it's a spiritual about the next level from this plane. Mississippi Fred McDowell, most of you have not heard of. However, you have heard of his disciples, Bonnie Raitt, who studied with him, Keith Richards of the Stones, and as a matter of fact, the Rolling Stones covered this song. It's called You Got to Move. And in the chorus, it's very simple. I'll handle the verses, but I'm going to go over the chorus. So you guys get used to this. You got to move. You got to move. You got to move, child. You got to move. When the Lord gets ready, well, you got to move. That's all there's to it for your part. You got to move. Come on. You got to move. You got to move, child. You got to move. When the Lord gets ready, you got to move. You might be rich. You might be poor. You might be high, child. You might be low. When the Lord gets ready, well, you got to move. Together, you got to move. You got to move. You got to move, child. You got to move. When the Lord gets ready, well, you got to move. Well, see the people, they're walking that street. See the policeman, he's walking that beat. When the Lord gets ready, well, you got to move. got to move. You got to move. You got to move, child. You got to move. When the Lord gets ready, well, you got to move. One more time. You got to move. You got to move. You got to move, child. You got to move. But when the Lord gets ready, well, you got to move.
Thank you, Aviv. At this time, we call to mind our loved ones who have passed away during this week in years past. If you are here to observe yard site for a loved one, you're invited to rise when his or her name is read aloud. Tonight, we remember Ursula Ball, David Edelson, Maurice Goldberg, Adele Kansiper, Elizabeth Kling, Stanley Reeser, Isidore Cipher, May Walker, Glenn Wallace, Joe Wolf, Norman Applebaum, Samuel L. Heimson, Jesse R. Newman, Dr. Mark Schaffner, Joseph Snyder, Samuel Morgulin, Gary Weiser. And tonight our thoughts are also with Bishop Kelsey's mother, Irma Rice, who would have been 78 years old today. She passed away on October 21st, 2023. Zichronam Levracha, may their memories be for a blessing, and may they rest in peace as we rise together as a congregation, reciting the Mourner's Kaddish, which can be found on page 294. And before we begin, I just want to point out that although it's called the Mourner's Kaddish, everything in this prayer praises God's holy name. It does not refer to death, even though we use it when we remember those who have passed away. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, Bi'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kari v'yimeru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach leolam olamei omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shemei dekudasha, berichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'yimeru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimeru, amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, Hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimeru, amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say together, amen. Please be seated. Our concluding song this evening is We Shall Overcome. And I hope everybody has a handout. If not, there might be more by the door.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. Let's pick this up. The Lord will see us through. The Lord will see us through. The Lord will see us through someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe the Lord will see us through someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we'll walk hand in hand someday. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We are not afraid today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we are not afraid today. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall live in peace someday.
God willing, that day will come sooner than later when all of us, we won't be afraid because of the color of our skin or our religion. We won't be afraid, but we will all live in peace. I want to thank everybody who read tonight during the service and participated. A special thanks to Jen Jacobson, who did the lion's share of planning. Thank you. But also to Ian from Spirit-Filled Church, and to Rachel and to Avery. Of course, to Aviv for leading us in music, and Travis, thank you for streaming. We are going to recite two blessings in here so that when we get next door, everybody can grab something to eat and then go to the table that has the number on it for the discussion part of the evening. So if, again, didn't get one of these, I believe there are probably more over there. And I wanted to say one other thing that came to mind when our last speaker spoke about eating in the kitchen. In Driving Miss Daisy, Hoke ate in the kitchen, but then at the end, towards the end of the movie, Miss Daisy grabs Hoke's hand and says, "Hoke, you're my best friend." And that was so touching. And even after he stopped working for the family, and she's in the nursing home, and he visits her, and then the son is there, and he tells him to leave, and he says, "Who came to visit me?" In other words, they were friends, despite living in a place and a time that had separation or levels, right? Separation of what whites did and blacks did. That went away by the wayside, which was beautiful. I'm going to ask everyone to please rise. The blessing over the challah, or braided bread, will be followed by the blessing over the wine, which can be found on page 5. We do not bless the bread or make the bread or the wine holy. We bless God or praise God, who creates the fruit of the vine and who brings forth bread from the earth. And over the wine, we're also going to be recalling the Exodus from Egypt, which is central to our history, and also a reminder that God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. So please join us.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat l'chaim.
To life. L'chaim.
You have to slip it for me. I can't take it. I can't handle it.
There will be grape juice next door. And now the blessing over our